I am one self, united with my Creator. Salvation comes from my one self. Hello, I'm Willie from the Ozarks, and we're ready for lesson 113 in A Course in Miracles workbook for students. We're reading from the original edition here on April the 23rd of 2023, Sunday. Sitting here at Grand Falls, just outside of Joplin, Missouri. Lesson 113, I hope I said 113, for morning and evening review. I am one self, united with my Creator. Serenity and perfect peace are mine because I am one self, completely whole and at one with all creation and with God. And then that was review 95, review 96. Salvation comes from my one self. From my one self, whose knowledge still remains within my mind, I see God's perfect plan for my salvation perfectly fulfilled. So on the hour today, tell yourself, I am one self, united with my Creator. And then on the half hour, tell yourself, salvation comes from my one self. And let's go look at the review again briefly. Let's start at the beginning. Review, just a couple pages back. Review number 3. Our third review begins today. We will review two of the last 20 ideas each day until we've reviewed them all. We will observe a special format for these practice periods, which you are urged to follow just as closely as you can. We understand, of course, that it may be impossible for you to undertake what is suggested here as optimal each day and every hour of the day. Learning will not be hampered when you miss a practice period because it is impossible at the appointed time. Nor is it necessary that you make excessive effort to be sure that you catch up in terms of numbers. Rituals are not our aim and would defeat our goal. But learning will be hampered when you skip a practice period because you are unwilling to devote the time to it which you are asked to give. Do not deceive yourself in this. Unwillingness can be most carefully concealed behind a cloak of situations you cannot control. Learn to distinguish situations which are poorly suited to your practicing from those which you establish to uphold a camouflage for your unwillingness. Those practice periods which you have lost because you did not want to do them for whatever reason should be done as soon as you have changed your mind about your goal. You are unwilling to cooperate in practicing salvation only if it interferes with goals you hold more dear. When you withdraw the value given them, those goals that are more dear than salvation, when you withdraw the value given them, allow your practice periods to be replacements for your litanies to them. They gave you nothing, but your practicing can offer you everything, can offer everything to you. And so accept its offering and be at peace. So I just wanted to kind of bring our memory to what we're really trying to accomplish here. You don't have to be too, in those 5-minute periods you take of the day, or not, we're not even doing 5 minutes. We're only doing 5 minutes in the morning, 5 minutes in the evening, or longer, and I'd encourage you to do a little longer. But 5 minutes is always required. And then just bring it to your memory, and if you can, close your eyes for a moment. Maybe take a minute or two if you can, on the hour and on the half hour. And say the lesson today being, I am one self, united with my Creator. And then on the half hour, you'll say, salvation comes from my one self. But don't be discouraged if you're not able to. But he says start looking at ones that you're just avoiding because you really have other things you want to do that are more important. And when you've decided to do them, well, then go back to the routine or to the schedule. Okay, so I just wanted to encourage you in that. We'll look at a little bit more of that review tomorrow, but that's enough for today. Okay, let's go take a look in our text reading, and we're ready for chapter 12, verse 23. I say verse 23. It's section 4, healing and time. I'm going to make sure I'm telling you right. Yes, healing and time, section 4. While you're turning there, if you'd like to follow along, let me tell you about some things going on around the world today. It's U.S. Army Reserve birthday. The Army Reserve started in 1908. Canada Book Day, English Language Day, German Beer Day, Impossible Astronaut Day, International Pixel Stain Techno Peasant Day. Basically, it's a day, that particular one's a day for encouraging people to publish freely online. Lover's Day, which probably is an outcropping of St. George's Day, which it's also St. George's Day, and it's Lover's Day. All three of those things were probably from St. George's Day. He died in 303. He was the patron saint of many countries, England and Georgia, Bolivia, a number of different countries. Movie Theater Day, National Cherry Cheesecake Day, National English Muffin Day, National Lost Dog Awareness Day, National Picnic Day, and Slay a Dragon Day. That is likely also a result of St. George's Day. Spanish Language Day, Take a Chance Day, Talk Like Shakespeare Day, UN English Language Day, World Book and Copyright Day, and World Book Night, and World Laboratory Day. So there's some things going on around the world, and let's take a look at another grape. I'd like to talk about Mars Seedless Grape. We talked about Concord grape yesterday, and this is out of Edible Landscaping. And your grapes are at least this one here is a Vitus lubrusca, and it's a hybrid. The Mars. Mars is a blue seedless grape, good in hot summer areas. The most disease-resistant seedless grape usually ripens in late July and usually needs to be sprayed for black rot. The grapes pictured were not sprayed but bagged. Instead of spraying, you put a paper bag around them when they start forming, and that'll keep that black rot from developing. Space 8 foot apart on 6 foot high trellises. Flavor similar to Concord and excellent. Texture not split skin but thin skinned and meaty like vinifera grapes. Good in zones 4 through 8. That's your Mars Seedless Grape. Okay, let's go take a look now in section 4 of chapter 12, the problem of guilt. Section 4 being healing and time, paragraph 23. I probably should have told you all that before I started reading. Sorry about that. And now the reason why you are afraid of this course should be apparent. For this is a course on love because it is about you. You have been told that your function in this world is healing, and your function in heaven is creating. The ego teaches that your function on earth is destruction, and that you have no function in heaven, at all in heaven. It would thus destroy you here and bury you here, leaving you no inheritance except the dust out of which it thinks you were made. As long as it is reasonably satisfied with you, as its reasoning goes, it offers you oblivion. When it becomes overtly savage, it offers you hell. Well, that's quite a couple of nice offerings, huh? Not. Paragraph 24. Yet neither oblivion nor hell is as unacceptable to you as heaven. For your definition of heaven is hell and oblivion, and the real heaven is the greatest threat you think you could experience. For hell and oblivion are ideas which you made up, and you are bent on demonstrating their reality to establish yours. If their reality is questioned, you believe that yours is. For you believe that attack is your reality, and that your destruction is the final proof that you were right. Paragraph 25. Under the circumstances, would it not be more desirable to have been wrong, even apart from the fact that you were wrong? While it could perhaps be argued that death suggests there was life, no one would claim that it proves there is life. Even the past life which death might indicate could only have been futile if it must come to this and needs this to prove that it was. You question heaven, but you do not question this. You could heal and be healed if you did question it. Wow. You could heal and be healed if you did question it. Let's back it up. You question heaven, but you do not question this. Let's look at the whole paragraph again. Under the circumstances, would it not be more desirable to have been wrong, even apart from the fact that you were wrong? While it could perhaps be argued that death suggests there was life, no one would claim that it proves there is life. Even the past life which death might indicate could only have been futile if it must come to this and needs this to prove that it was. You question heaven, but you do not question this. You could heal and be healed if you did question it. And even though you know not heaven, might it not be more desirable than death? You have been as selective in your questioning as in your perception. An open mind is more honest than this. 26. The ego has a very strange notion of time, and it is with this notion that your questioning might well begin. The ego invests heavily in the past, and in the end believes that the past is the only aspect of time that is meaningful. You will remember that we said its emphasis on guilt enables it to ensure its continuity by making the future like the past and thus avoiding the present, the only time there really is. By the notion of paying for the past in the future, the past becomes the determiner of the future, making them continuous without an intervening present. For the ego uses the present only as a brief transition to the future, in which it brings the past to the future by interpreting the present in past terms. Paragraph 27. Now has no meaning to the ego. Now has no meaning to the ego. The present merely reminds it of past hurts, and it reacts to the present as if it were the past. The ego cannot tolerate release from the past, and although the past is no more, the ego tries to preserve its image by responding as if it were present. Thus it dictates reactions to those you meet now from a past reference point, obscuring their present reality. In effect, if you follow the ego's dictates, you will react to your brothers as though they were someone else, and this will surely prevent you from perceiving them as they are. And you will receive messages from them out of your own past, because by making it real in the present, you are forbidding yourself to let it go. You thus deny yourself the message of release that every brother offers you now. 28. The shadowy figures from the past are precisely what you must escape. The shadowy figures from the past are precisely what you must escape. For they are not real and have no hold over you unless you bring them with you. They carry the spots of pain in your minds, directing you to attack in the present in retaliation for a past that is no more. And this decision is one of future pain. Unless you learn that past pain is delusional, you are choosing a future of illusions and losing the endless opportunities which you could find for release in the present. The ego would preserve your nightmares and prevent you from awakening and understanding that they are past. 29. Would you recognize a holy counter if you are merely perceiving it as a meeting with your own past? For you are meeting no one, and the sharing of salvation, which makes the encounter holy, is excluded from your sight. The Holy Spirit teaches that you always meet yourself, and the encounter is holy because you are. The ego teaches that you always encounter your past, and because your dreams were not holy, the future cannot be, and the present is without meaning. It is evident that the Holy Spirit's perception of time is the exact opposite of the ego's. The reason is equally clear, for they perceive the goal of time as diametrically opposed. 30. The Holy Spirit interprets time's purpose as rendering the need for it unnecessary. Thus does he regard the function of time as temporary, serving only his teaching function, which is temporary by definition. His emphasis is therefore on the only aspect of time which can extend to the infinite, for now is the closest approximation of eternity which this world offers. The power of now. Now is the closest approximation of eternity which this world offers. It is in the reality of now, without past or future, that the beginning of the appreciation of eternity lies. No past regrets and no future dreads. Don't feel any guilt from the past and don't feel any foreboding about the future. Stay in the present moment. For now is the closest approximation of eternity which this world offers. It is in the reality of now, without past or future, that the beginning of the appreciation of eternity lies. For only now is here, and it presents the opportunities for the holy encounters in which salvation can be found. Be here now. Tell yourself that today. 31. The ego, on the other hand, regards the function of time as one of extending itself in place of eternity. For like the Holy Spirit, the ego interprets the goal of time as its own. The continuity of past and future under its direction is the only purpose the ego perceives in time, and it closes over the present so that no gap in its own continuity can occur. Its continuity then would keep you in time, while the Holy Spirit would release you from it. It is his interpretation of the means of salvation which you must learn to accept if you would share his goal of salvation for you. Isn't that something? I'm thinking of lesson 193 says the chains of time are easily unloosed by the practice of forgiveness. Paragraph 52. So, let's back up in 32, but let's look at 31 once again. The continuity of past and future under its direction is the only purpose the ego perceives in time, and it closes over the present so that no gap in its own continuity can occur. Its continuity then would keep you in time, while the Holy Spirit would release you from it. It is His interpretation of the means of salvation which you must learn to accept if you would share His goal of salvation for you. 32. I think this is the last paragraph of this section. Yes. You too will interpret the function of time as you interpret yours. If you accept your function in the world of time as healing, you will emphasize only the aspect of time in which healing can occur. For healing cannot be accomplished in the past and must be accomplished in the present to release the future. This interpretation ties the future to the present and extends the present rather than the past. Wow, what a beautiful way to look at things. We need to read it one more time. You too will interpret the function of time as you interpret yours. If you accept your function in the world of time as healing, you will emphasize only the aspect of time in which healing can occur. For healing cannot be accomplished in the past and must be accomplished in the present to release the future. This interpretation ties the future to the present and extends the present rather than the past. If you interpret your function as destruction, you will lose sight of the present and hold on to the past to ensure a destructive future, and time will be as you interpret it, for of itself it is nothing. Wow, it's a learning device is what it really is, but it's a nothing. Okay, our lesson. Let's go back and look at our lesson once again before we go, and I think we'll just sing the lesson. I am one self, united with my Creator. Tell yourself that on the hour today, and then on a half hour later, tell yourself salvation comes from my one self. I am one self, united with my Creator. I am one self, united with my Creator. Serenity and perfect peace are mine, because I am one self, completely whole, at one with all creation and with God. I am one self, united with my Creator. I am one self, united with my Creator. Then on the half hour, salvation comes from my one self. Salvation comes from my one self. From my one self, whose knowledge still remains within my mind. I see God's perfect plan for my salvation, perfectly fulfilled. From my one self, whose knowledge still remains within my mind, I see God's perfect plan for my salvation, perfectly fulfilled. Salvation comes from my one self. Salvation comes from my one self. I am one self, united with my Creator. my one self. I am one self, united with my Creator. Salvation comes from my one self. I am one self, united with my Creator. Salvation comes from my one self. Thank you all so much for joining me here on the banks of Shoal Creek downstream from Grand Falls. Till tomorrow, you'll be telling yourself often, be sure to do your 2 longer practices, morning and evening, of at least 5 minutes. I am one self, united with my Creator. Say that on the hour and on the half hour. Salvation comes from my one self. I am one self, united with my Creator. Salvation comes from my one self.